what do I do if I don't feel comfortable talking to my parents, and I don't know how to improve that? This was from our survey.
I mean, that's definitely a hard question to answer. What I would suggest doing is, if you are feeling uncomfortable talking to your parents, you might just want to spend quality time with them, like watch a movie or go on a walk or go on a drive somewhere, and just spend quality time with each other. And then if you feel safe and you feel okay, you can open up, because most parents do want to understand what's going on in your life, but they don't know how to ask about it, and they may not feel comfortable asking you about your problems. And so if you spend quality time and you're both relaxed and in a good state of mind, that might help you, because parents do want to help you through your struggles. So it's just a suggestion.
Yeah, definitely. I actually kind of, before we hit the next question, I kind of want to transition into this question of how do we just in general improve our relationships with our parents. And I think Gio definitely nailed on the head of just, having these, just like with siblings, having these shared family experiences that we can be together with and experience, like especially, especially right now, because all we're doing is sitting around with our parents and our siblings at our homes. Just little moments, like Gio said, watching a movie. For the last few months, ever since The Mandalorian started coming out, my parents and my brother and I would sit down on our couch at midnight, turn off the light, turn on Disney Plus, and just watch that episode. And it was not good for my sleep schedule, but it was this, little moment of the week where we can just sit down, eat popcorn, and relax and feel like we're just back in a theater watching a movie. And so little experiences like that just really help to reinforce a positive dynamic with the family, especially when you can discuss things, or when you can discuss surface level things, like, for example, what happens in a movie, but then that can evolve into something a little bit more deeper. Like, what's a good example? I was watching this comedy show and they brought up this character who was allergic to latex, and so he had an allergic reaction to a condom. And my mom was like, "Oh, well, don't." It's like she just started talking about condoms, and that's something that really it never happened in our family, because we kind of avoid talking about that stuff. But because it was a condom and because it was a hilarious TV show, we kind of just started laughing about it. Yeah, just little things like that. That just kind of chip away at the ice and break that barrier.
I wanted to kind of just build off of that as well, really quick. I think something, parents come up a lot in my conversations with students at CASSY, I think, especially now. And a conversation that I try to have in times like this is just really getting people to reflect on what it is that they're wanting from their parents, because sometimes people don't even know what they want from parents when kind of wanting to tell them about things going on in their lives, or like really sensitive, serious topics, because it can vary from person to person. I think, like, sometimes people might be wanting advice, like your parents are older than you, they've lived a lot more life than you, so maybe they want advice, like what would you do in this situation? Or maybe they just want like comfort, or like them to just like listen. And I think parents, especially working with parents, I've noticed that some of their first reactions is to fix these problems for their students, or their children, because it's not fun seeing your kid in pain or struggling with something. And I think that's just a very like instinctual reaction, is to want to fix things for people, for their kids. And that's not what they want necessarily. So just kind of looking inwards to yourself and like asking like, okay, what is it that I'm wanting from my mom or from my dad right now? If this conversation if it ended up in the ways that I wanted it to, what would that look like? Because I think that parents aren't just going to guess what they want, what you want from them. So kind of just asking yourself what it is that you want and how to communicate that. Being like, hey, can I have advice for something? Or I just want to talk to someone about this. I think it does take a lot of work and a lot of effort to be able to share and be transparent in that way, but it's so helpful for parents to have a good starting point and like, okay, how can I show up for you in this moment? So it takes a lot of kind of personal reflection on your end.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, I want to transition to the next story or next question of, what do I do if my parents just don't understand me?
I mean, it's the hardest thing when you feel like your parents don't understand you. For me, in my situation, in my life, I've learned that sometimes, or actually most of the time, being adamant about how you're feeling or who you are and what you want out of life and being very persistent with your parents will help pay off. Because a lot of the time, parents aren't trying to be disrespectful and they're not trying to like not understand. They're just confused. And sometimes that confusion can come out off as like denial or disrespect. So like in my instance, I'm gonna just fully say it. I'm an openly trans man. And when I came out to my parents the first time, they were both very confused. And as a result, what they said to me sounded a lot like denial. So they were like, yeah, you're not a boy. You'll never be a boy. You don't act like one. You don't dress like one, you know. And then they started comparing it to like their past experiences with like identity crises or whatever. And for like half a year, I thought that they didn't understand me. They didn't want to understand me and they were just in denial. But what I did was I took the time out of my half a year to educate them and be like, no, this is who I am. And there was a point where I had a friend who asked me to prom and my mom's like, oh yeah, we'll just get you a jumpsuit. I'm like, no, you're going to get me a men's suit. And so I would come home from Pride with like these trans pamphlets in my hand, handing them to my parents and giving them books to the point where it just clicked in their mind. And then they finally accepted me for who I am. And then I came out to them again saying this is exactly who I am. There's nothing you can do about it. And then they're now like one of my biggest supporters. So usually in the instance of parents not understanding, it's not that they don't want to understand, it's just they don't know how to educate themselves. So sometimes you have to like go out of your way to be very persistent about what you want out of life and who you are, and to educate them in order for them to understand what you're going through.
Yeah, finding a convincing or a persuasive way to present what is important to us and what's important to you in your life rather than what they expect from you, I think is very, very influential. You know, just showing the passion you have for something. I mean, I'm sure whether or not your parents can share that passion, they've had a passion about something in the past and they know they've experienced something that they've deeply cared about. And so it's just them being able to see that in you, I think is something very powerful. And if you can convince them of that in a meaningful way, I think that would greatly help on improving a parent-child relationship.